Chapter 6. The Courtroom War. The first court hearing was scheduled for October 28, 2025. I woke up that morning with my stomach in knots. I hadn't slept properly in days. I stood in front of the small mirror in my studio apartment, looking at my reflection. I was 67 years old, thin, tired, and scared, but I was no longer broken. I put on my best navy blue dress, the one Thomas had loved, pinned my hair neatly, and whispered to myself, "Today you fight for yourself, Eleanor." Margaret Chun, my lawyer, met me outside the courthouse. She was calm and confident. "Remember," she said, "this is just the beginning. They will try to paint you as a bitter, controlling mother-in-law. Stay calm and dignified. Let the evidence speak." When I entered the courtroom, Benjamin and Victoria were already seated. Victoria was dressed in an expensive cream-colored suit, looking like the perfect victim. Benjamin avoided my eyes completely. Their lawyer, a slick man named Richard Harlan, began his opening statement. "Your Honor, this is a clear case of a wealthy widow regretting her generous gifts. Mrs. Harper willingly gave hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now she wants it back because she feels excluded. This is nothing more than emotional manipulation and buyer's remorse." I felt my blood boil, but I stayed quiet. When it was our turn, Margaret presented the first set of documents, bank records showing massive transfers from my accounts to theirs over 3 years. She also showed that I had sold my only home to help them. But the real battle began when Victoria took the stand. She cried beautifully on cue. "Eleanor was always controlling," she sobbed. "She moved into our house uninvited. She criticized everything I did. She made me feel like I was never good enough. The money was a gift, but she used it to control our lives." Benjamin testified next. His voice was shaky. "She's my mother, but she was suffocating our marriage." Benjamin testified next. His voice was shaky. "She's my mother, but she was suffocating our marriage." Their performance was Oscar-worthy. Several people in the courtroom looked at me with pity and disgust. I felt humiliated. But Margaret was prepared. Over the next 3 hearings, we presented stronger evidence. Bank statements showing I was still paying their utility bills even after they changed the locks. Messages where Victoria asked me for more money just 2 weeks before the wedding. The private investigators recovered deleted texts where Victoria openly mocked me. The judge, Honorable Judge Patricia Reynolds, was listening carefully. Then came the most painful hearing, November 19th. Victoria's lawyer brought up old family photos and social media posts where I looked happy with them, trying to prove I was unstable and had suddenly turned against them. When it was my turn to speak, the courtroom went silent. I stood up slowly, looked directly at Benjamin and Victoria, and spoke from the heart. "I buried my husband. I sold the home where I raised my son. I gave you nearly $400,000 because I loved you both. I cooked for you, cleaned for you, comforted you when you cried about your childhood, Victoria. I treated you like my own daughter. And the night before your wedding, you told me the greatest gift I could give was to disappear. I am not here for revenge. I am here because I was financially and emotionally exploited. I am here to take back what is left of my dignity and my future." My voice didn't shake. For the first time in months, I felt powerful. The judge's expression changed. She ordered both sides to submit more evidence and scheduled the final hearings for January 2026. The war was far from over. Between hearings, the gaslighting reached new levels. Victoria created a private Facebook group called Supporting Benjamin and Victoria, and invited many of my relatives. She posted long emotional stories about how I was destroying their marriage out of jealousy. Some cousins and even my sister Patricia started believing her. I lost many relationships during this time. But I also gained something more important: strength. I started writing everything down in a journal every night. I joined a support group for betrayed parents. I began walking by the sea every morning to clear my mind. Slowly, I was rebuilding myself. And the best evidence was yet to come. Chapter 7: The Great Family Betrayal. The months between November 2025 and February 2026 became some of the loneliest and most painful of my entire life. While the court case moved slowly through the system, Victoria launched a full-scale campaign to destroy my reputation. She didn't just want to win in court, she wanted to make sure I was completely isolated and humiliated. It started with a private Facebook group she created called Protecting Our Peace. She invited almost every family member I had: my sister Patricia, my 2 brothers, cousins, nieces, nephews, and even old friends from church. In that group, she painted herself as the victim of a toxic, controlling mother-in-law. She posted long, carefully written updates. It breaks my heart to say this, but Benjamin's mother has been emotionally abusing us since the beginning. She used money to control us. After we asked for space, she started harassing us. We had to change our locks for our own safety. Please pray for us during this difficult time. The comments poured in. So sorry you're going through this. Some mothers just can't let go. Money always brings out the worst in people. You and Benjamin deserve peace. Even my own sister Patricia commented, Victoria has been nothing but kind to me. Eleanor has changed since Thomas passed. Maybe she needs professional help. That comment from my own blood hurt more than anything Victoria said. I tried to defend myself. I sent long messages to family members explaining what really happened. I shared bank statements and screenshots. Most of them either ignored me or replied with, "Eleanor, this is between you and them. We don't want to get involved." The betrayal from my own family cut deeper than Victoria's cruelty. My brother Robert, who I had helped financially many times, sent me this message. "Eleanor, stop embarrassing the family. Victoria is pregnant. You're stressing her out. Let them live their lives." Pregnant. My son was going to be a father. And I was only finding out through a cruel message from my brother. That news broke me all over again. Christmas 2025 was the worst holiday of my life. I spent it completely alone in my tiny studio apartment. I bought a small artificial tree and cried while decorating it with old ornaments from when Benjamin was a child. I cooked a small chicken for one person. No calls. No messages. No invitations. On Christmas Eve, Victoria posted a beautiful family photo on her public Instagram. Benjamin, Victoria, and both sets of her friends all smiling. The caption read, "Grateful for family who truly supports us, no drama, just love." I was cropped out of their lives like I never existed. The gaslighting became even more vicious in January. Victoria started telling people I was mentally unstable. She claimed I had been sending her threatening messages, which I never did. She even went to the police and filed a harassment complaint against me. Thankfully, the police saw it was baseless and closed the case, but the damage was done. Many family members stopped speaking to me entirely. During this dark time, I had two people who stood by me. 1. My lawyer, Margaret Chen. 2. My old friend Linda, who I hadn't spoken to in years. She reached out after hearing rumors and became my emotional support. One night in late January, Linda came to my apartment with food. After listening to everything, she said something that changed my perspective. "Eleanor, they didn't just take your money. They tried to erase you. But you're still here. That means you won the first battle." Her words gave me strength. Meanwhile, in court, things were heating up. Our private investigator Daniel found even more damaging evidence: voice recordings and deleted messages where Victoria bragged to her friends. The old lady is still paying for everything. Once the wedding is done, we'll cut her off. She's so desperate for love, it's actually funny. When Margaret presented this evidence in the next hearing, the judge's face hardened. Victoria tried to deny everything, but the proof was overwhelming. The family betrayal taught me one of the hardest lessons of my life. Blood does not always mean loyalty. Love is not always returned. Sometimes the people who should protect you become your biggest enemies. But every night, even when I cried myself to sleep, I reminded myself, I am fighting for the woman. I still am not the woman they tried to erase. The final judgment was approaching, and I was ready. Chapter 8. The Evidence That Changed Everything. By February 2026, the court case had become the center of my existence. I lived from hearing to hearing, from one piece of evidence to the next. My tiny studio apartment was covered with boxes of documents, bank statements, printed messages, and legal notes. I barely slept. I barely ate. But for the first time since the betrayal, I felt alive with purpose. Margaret Chen told me we needed one big, undeniable piece of evidence to turn the case completely in our favor. We had messages and bank records, but Victoria's lawyer was very skilled at dismissing them as normal family disagreements. Then, on February 12th, everything changed. My private investigator, Daniel Ruiz, called me at 7:15 a.m. His voice was urgent. Eleanor, I've got something. Meet me at my office in 1 hour. When I arrived, Daniel placed a USB drive on the table. I recovered deleted voice messages and a hidden cloud backup from Victoria's old phone. You need to hear this. He pressed play. The first recording was from May 2025, 1 month before the wedding. Victoria's voice, laughing, "Oh my God, she actually believes we want her at the wedding. I told Benjamin we should just take the final payments and then block her. She's so pathetic. Keep saying you're my daughter." Like, seriously? I've been acting for 4 years. Her friend's voice, "What about all the money?" Victoria, "It's a gift, babe. She gave it willingly. She's old and lonely. We don't owe her anything. Once we're married, she's gone. I already told Benjamin if he chooses her over me, the marriage is over." I sat there completely stunned. My hands were shaking. Daniel played more recordings, over 47 minutes in total. Victoria bragging to different friends about how she had played the perfect daughter-in-law, how she had manipulated Benjamin, how she planned to cut me off completely after the wedding and honeymoon. Victoria, she keeps talking about walking me down the aisle or giving a speech. I told her straight yesterday, disappear from our family. The look on her face was priceless. Benjamin feels guilty, but he's on my side now. We're finally free. I cried silently as I listened. Not because I was sad anymore, but because the depth of her deception was finally exposed. Margaret Chen was thrilled when I showed her the files. "This is gold, Eleanor. This shows premeditation, exploitation, and clear intent to defraud you of your life savings. We're going to destroy their narrative in court." The next hearing was on March 3, 2026. The courtroom was packed. Victoria and Benjamin looked confident at first. Their lawyer started his usual speech about gifts and regret. Then Margaret stood up. "Your Honor, with your permission, I would like to play several audio recordings recovered from the defendant's own devices." The judge allowed it. When Victoria's own voice filled the courtroom laughing about me being pathetic and planning to cut me off, the atmosphere completely shifted. Victoria's face went pale. Benjamin looked physically sick. He stared at his wife with disbelief. The judge stopped the recording midway and looked directly at Victoria. "Mrs. Harper, did you say these things?" Victoria tried to recover. I was venting. It was a private conversation. Everyone says things they don't mean when they're stressed. The judge raised her hand. These are not venting. These show clear intent and premeditated exploitation. That single day changed the entire direction of the case. After that hearing, Victoria and Benjamin's side became desperate. They offered to settle for $120,000, a fraction of what I had given. Margaret advised me to reject it. We didn't just want money anymore. We wanted justice. More evidence continued to surface. Daniel found emails where Victoria had asked her mother for advice on how to get rid of the old woman without losing the house. Another recording showed Benjamin weakly agreeing with Victoria while she mocked me. The most painful recording for me was one where Benjamin spoke. Benjamin, Mom gave us everything. But Victoria is right. We need our own life. I can't keep choosing her. Even hearing my own son say those words hurt deeply, but it also gave me closure. I finally understood he had made his choice long ago. By the end of March, the case was overwhelmingly in my favor. The judge ordered mediation, but Victoria refused to accept any responsibility. She continued playing the victim even in private mediation sessions. During one heated mediation, Victoria looked at me with pure hatred and said, "You're ruining our lives over money." I looked back at her calmly and replied, "No, Victoria. You ruined my life over money. I'm just taking it back." The mediator's mouth fell open. That was the moment I knew I had won, not just in court, but inside myself. Chapter 9, Judgment Day. April 17, 2026, exactly 10 months after the night Victoria told me to disappear. The final court hearing had arrived. I woke up at 5 a.m. in my small studio apartment. For the first time in almost a year, I didn't feel fear. I felt calm, determined, and strangely at peace. I wore the same navy blue dress I had worn on the first day of court, but this time I added the pearl necklace that once belonged to Thomas's mother, the one Victoria had rejected. Margaret Chun met me outside the courthouse again. She squeezed my hand and said, "Today we finish this, Eleanor." The courtroom was fuller than ever. Family members, friends, and even some curious spectators filled the seats. Benjamin and Victoria sat on the right side. Victoria looked exhausted and nervous. Benjamin kept his head down the entire time. Judge Patricia Reynolds entered and wasted no time. She began by summarizing the case. This court has reviewed extensive financial records, audio evidence, text messages, and testimonies. The plaintiff, Mrs. Eleanor Harper, claims financial exploitation and emotional abuse after gifting nearly $355,000 to her son and daughter-in-law. Then she looked directly at Victoria and Benjamin. Mrs. Victoria Harper, the audio recordings presented in this court are deeply disturbing. You repeatedly mocked and planned to discard the woman who gave you everything. This was not a gift given freely without expectation, it was given with love and trust that was cruelly betrayed. Victoria tried one last time. She stood up with tears in her eyes. "Your Honor, I was stressed. I said things I didn't mean." Eleanor was overbearing. The judge cut her off sharply. "Enough. The evidence shows premeditation. You exploited a grieving widow's love for her only son. This court does not look kindly on such behavior." The judge then delivered her ruling. "I am ordering the defendants, Benjamin and Victoria Harper, to repay Mrs. Eleanor Harper the full amount of $355,000 plus 8% interest per year from the date of each transfer. Additionally, they will pay all legal fees and court costs totaling $47,800. The total judgment is $428,600 to be paid within 90 days. The courtroom was silent for a moment, then erupted in whispers. Victoria started crying loudly. Benjamin looked completely destroyed. He finally looked at me with tears in his eyes, but I didn't look away this time. As we were leaving the courtroom, Victoria approached me with pure venom in her voice. "You'll never see your grandchild. Never." I looked at her calmly and said the words I had practiced many times in my mind. "I lost my son the day you told me to disappear. But I gained my life back today. I wish you both well, from far away." Benjamin tried to speak to me in the hallway. "Mom, I'm sorry. I made a huge mistake." I looked at the boy I had raised alone for so many years and replied softly, "I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix everything, Benjamin. I hope one day you become the man your father wanted you to be." I walked away without looking back. 3 weeks later, the house they loved so much, the one I had helped buy, was put up for sale. They needed the money to pay me. The circle was complete. I received the first major payment of $200,000 within 45 days. The rest followed. For the first time in over a year, I had financial security again. But more importantly, I had my dignity back. Chapter 10. Finding Myself Again. It has been exactly 1 year since that terrible night when Victoria told me to disappear from their family. Today, I sit on the porch of a small, peaceful cottage I bought by the sea in Maine, not far from where I grew up. The waves crash gently in the distance. The air smells of salt and pine. For the first time in many years, I feel truly at home. The money from the court judgment came through completely 3 months ago. I received every cent, $428,600. I didn't spend it on luxury. I bought this modest but beautiful cottage with a view of the ocean. I planted a garden. I restored a small library room filled with all the books I love. I even bought Thomas's old rocking chair and placed it on the porch so I can sit with him in spirit every evening. Benjamin tried to reach out several times after the judgment. The first message came 2 days after the court ruling. "Benjamin, Mom, I know I don't deserve to say this, but I'm truly sorry. Victoria and I are separating. She was never who I thought she was." I didn't reply for 3 weeks. When I finally did, I wrote, I accept your apology. But I need time to heal. I loved you with my whole heart. I hope you become a better man and father than what I witnessed. Take care of yourself." We speak occasionally now, short, careful conversations. He has seen his daughter, my granddaughter, only a few times. Victoria moved to another state. She tried to fight the judgment but failed. I have never asked to see my granddaughter. Some wounds run too deep. Maybe one day, when she is older, if Benjamin proves himself, I may open that door. But not yet. I have learned the hardest lesson of my life. Love should never cost you your dignity. Family is not entitled to destroy you. Sometimes the greatest act of self-love is choosing to walk away. Every morning I walk along the beach. I talk to Thomas. I thank him for the years we had. I tell him I kept my promises as best as I could. Some days I cry. Most days now, I smile. I have started teaching again part-time at a small local school. The children call me Mrs. Eleanor. Their laughter fills a part of me that was empty for a long time. I also started writing. This story you just read, all 10 chapters, is the book I never thought I would have the courage to write. It is my truth. My pain. My victory. To every mother, every father, every parent reading or listening to this. If you are being used, disrespected, or discarded by the people you sacrificed everything for, please hear me. You are not obligated to keep giving when your love is met with cruelty. Your worth is not measured by how much you can provide. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is disappear from those who never valued you, and find yourself again. I lost my son. I lost my daughter-in-law. I lost many family members. But I found something far more precious myself. I am no longer the woman who begged to be loved. I am the woman who learned to love herself. And that is the most beautiful ending I never expected.